The Vikings win their 9th straight game, Ben, and it's all going to come down to Week 18. This is Between the Lines, coming to you from inside the tunnel right by the players' entrance in the locker room here inside US Bank Stadium. It's such a good lesson in resiliency. We have heard and seen this team do this week in and week out. But this is actually the first time since 2017 that the Vikings have swept the Packers in a series in a season. How important was this victory moving forward?
Oh my gosh, I mean, it's everything. I mean, we've been like sort of flirting with this idea that we're going to have this hyper meaningful game in the last game of the season in Detroit. You know, winner take all. They get that number 1 seed, and I don't know how many people at home was actually thinking like 3 or 4 games ago, like, is this really going to happen? Are we going to run the table and put ourselves in that situation? And here we are. So I mean, this team has just. It's not only resilient, they're just so mentally tough to handle not just adversity, but to handle success. Handling success is a hard thing to do. You can pat yourself on the back really easily, especially when the rest of the country's doing it, and you can kind of coast through the week and be like, we got it. We're a good football team. We're just going to go out there and roll with our game plan, and we're going to get a win. But these guys find a way each and every week to refocus, look at themselves critically, and go out there and put their best foot forward.
It was an incredibly joyous locker room. I got word that they were spraying water bottles on Sam Darnold like it was champagne as he walked in, and Sam Darnold deservingly so. He had such a massive game. The ability for he hit 35 touchdowns this season, passing touchdowns this season, 12 games this season with multiple touchdown passes. And just the fact that he was able to sit back in the pocket and wheel and deal, he continues to impress. What about him did you like this week in particular?
I mean, he continues to show the same thing each and every week. I mean, first of all, let's talk about KOC and this game plan and the way that they're able to the play calling, the way that they're able to decipher kind of everything that the defense is going to throw at them. Not once to actually look at our offense and feel like they're flinching, that they feel like, we're not really sure what the defense is trying to do to us. They were in control, in command, no matter what exotic look that they were getting, no matter if they were bringing 4 and they're dropping an edge guy and blitzing a safety. And they're trying to do a lot of different things, mix up some coverages, and we never flinched. And then you look at Sam and the way he can move around the pocket, the way he can anticipate. I mean, that Jalen Naylor touchdown, knowing that he has 2 high safeties, but most likely the one guy is going to bite on Justin Jefferson on that little in-cutting route. And he's like, okay, 2 high safeties, not normally a situation where you go over the top of that safety, but he knows that people are going to bite on Justin. They did exactly what he anticipated, and he put it right in a perfect spot.
I think what impressed me the most was when he threw the interception, right?
Yes.
And then the next drive, he goes in, 8-play, 70-yard scoring drive. I mean, just the ability to bounce back from your mistakes is something that I don't think many players have. How hard is that to be able to come back, especially in the quarterback position, and make that happen?
I mean, it's difficult. I mean, we can all talk about, just put it behind you, no big deal. It's like every series kind of lives on its own. I mean, we talk about it with cornerbacks and quarterbacks at the same time.
Yeah.
You give up a negative play and you're like, you got to put it aside. Like, learn from that moment, understand what you did wrong, and then just try not to make that mistake in the future. The thing I love about him is, like, he'll go out and make a mistake, and then on first down play action, he'll rip a ball right down the middle of the field to Jordan Addison, and you're like, dude, he hasn't lost his confidence at all. Like, he's still gunning that thing. He's ripping it down the field. He plays with no fear, and I just freaking love that about him.
Well, right behind us, we just saw TJ Hawkinson come by here, and obviously he is going to have one heck of a game next week playing his former team for, as you mentioned, for it all, for the NFC North title, for the number 1 seed. What did he tell you about just like winning this one and looking ahead in the locker room after the game?
He was just very complimentary of KOC and what the staff is doing. He's like, they came out and they presented a little bit more zone coverage to start the game. He's like, we really anticipated as an offense they're going to show us a lot more man coverage. And so we had to sort of on the fly adjust to what they were doing. And then they kind of switched everything in the second half. And so they had to offensively just go out there and make sideline adjustments, make adjustments at halftime. And, they did it without us even recognizing there was ever a problem.
Wow.
And so they're very well coached. And that's the one thing he just keeps saying is like, we just trust in our system and our coaches, and they allow us to go out there and play confidently.
Speaking of being well coached, Brian Flores' defense today was able to really rattle Jordan Love. And, he did get a little bit more momentum there towards the end of the game. But when the team had a 17-point lead, Jordan Love had 60 yards passing, like well into the third, fourth quarter. I mean, what were they able to do? Because I actually liked this part. In the radio broadcast, you said that they were manhandling them in every phase.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I was looking at this game like this is going to come down just a physicality game. This is a big boy win for us, and there's a lot at stake. Their front four defensively was very physical. They are very physical, and they give you a bunch of different looks. They have some movement. They have some twists. We all know about Josh Jacobs and what they can do run the football. So for me, it's like this is one of those quintessential, just cliched, like win the trenches type of game. And I think that we did that. Especially we wore them down. That defensive front looked tired. They looked exhausted. They looked like they were confused. They looked like they were playing on their heels. That's not something that they've shown on tape the last couple of games. So we did kind of take their soul a little bit defensively.
Sure.
And it was just fun to watch, to see how we were able to manipulate all the things that they were trying to do to us and come out on top.
Yeah, this is actually the first, it snaps a 5-game streak of the Packers scoring 30-plus points. They got dangerously close, but it didn't happen. Moving ahead, there is going to be a massive game on Sunday.
Yeah.
It is going to be the Vikings and the Lions for the first week bye. And if you don't win that game, you're going to be a wild card. It's just insane. You get 14 wins, and that might be where you end up. How, as a player, do you attack this week? How do you make sure that you don't get too big for the moment, but that what's on the line at the same time?
Well, I think they see it pretty clearly. I think what this staff has really done is they're honest with these guys. They're realistic. They're not going to try to blow smoke up them at all. They understand that this is the top-ranked team in the NFC, and so you can't fake that. You can't diminish that. You can't sugarcoat that. So that you've got to bring your A game, and then just trust. Trust in what's got you here. We've had some clutch wins on the road. I mean, just last week in Seattle, knowing that we can compete. The thing is,
you're
try
good,
not
guys.
to get taken
worries.
out here by a little Cushman cart.
Hopefully, we make it to the next week. No, I'm kidding.
But the thing is, like, I think other teams have to look at us. That Detroit and their fan base is like, man, we have to play the Minnesota Vikings. Like, I know that sometimes we have a tendency to look at other teams and sort of like, look at all their shiny objects and they're so good and all this other stuff. They have to look at us and be like, how do we stop this offense that every single game there's a new guy that's stepping up? Jalen Naylor's stepping up. TJ Hawkinson's going to step up. Cam Akers is going to step up. So, like, we're a really hard offense to face.
Well, it's interesting you say that because it does somewhat feel like that game was so long ago. It was week 6, I believe.
Yeah.
I might be off on that one. But it was so many weeks ago, and so much about both teams have changed since then. I know you haven't looked at the tape, or they're not even playing the 49ers at this point, but how do you think this team has gotten, in what ways this team has gotten better since that loss?
Our team?
Yes.
I would say, especially after today, our man coverage on defense has really gotten better. We were not really a man coverage team the first half of the season, especially when we saw Detroit the first time. So they're going to have to see us roll up to the line of scrimmage and have confidence in being physical with those wide receivers, because that's what it's going to take. We need to have Jared Goff hesitate.
Yes. We
need him to have a few hiccups there in the pocket. And that's what we showed today. It was like we played a lot of man coverage, especially on third down, and we really got after Jordan Love. He really had to hesitate. He was a little confused on what our defense was going to be, because that's something new that we haven't presented with this type of frequency.
All right, Ben. Well, we're going to do this at least for one more. Well, there's more games because we did clinch playoff berth, but we're going to head on the road to Detroit next. This has been Between the Lines of your 14-2 Minnesota Vikings. We will see you guys next week.